Welcome back to the DCC Insider Podcast, episode 5. Our first non-CC guest from the community, Mr. Anthony Watson, founder of Loving Arms for Liberia, a nonprofit organization. Well, actually, can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, thank you everybody for allowing me to come on your podcast.
Of course.
Really
Love
appreciate it. Again, my name is Anthony Watson. I work at DTE as an electrical engineer, technician in the field. And on a side job, I run a nonprofit which help kids in Africa, especially in Liberia.
Okay. Do you go, so do you raise money here in Detroit and then go to Liberia to set those computer labs up?
Yeah, so what we do is every year, just like September 21st is coming up, we'll set a date and we'll create a dinner, right?
Okay.
And we'll invite people like you or your parents to come over and say, you know what, we'd like to, they like the cost.
Yeah.
And then we'll raise money from that, and we'll show them all the different pages of the different projects, right?
Okay.
So you might say to yourself, okay, why am I coming over to support this idea of what's Anthony doing in Africa? So what we have done is say, you know what, look at various projects that we have done. Look at why we are doing the projects, right? Who does it benefits and why it benefits them,
Okay.
right? Liberia went through 14 years of civil war, right? So just imagine all the infrastructure, right? It's like having a tornado blew through a whole area or village or city, right?
Yeah.
And then you try to start over again. How do you put those pieces together? That's what Liberia's going through. So
Okay.
people like me coming in to say, these kids will not have access to these very devices. Why not put them in the schools and give them the opportunity?
Okay.
Right. And I know that St. Catherine's of Siena and CC and the Mesa Club actually donated to your cause. Can you give a little background on what those funds will go to? I know you said to build computer labs, but what else do you do?
So I'm so thankful. Last year, around November 15, I traveled to Liberia. But prior to traveling to Liberia, I partnered with the Catholic schools, and what we did was, and I haven't done this before, but it was kind of crazy that I went into it, and the whole idea was to collect pads. You might say money pads for young girls, sanitary pads for young girls. And I just thought about, that's a great cause. Let's just raise some money. So we raised over $500, and we went over to Costco and we bought those pads, and we packaged them. The local union, AFL-CIO, which the union I represent, my job where I work at, gave us $1,000. So what's funny about that is when we got to the airport, like any other traveling internationally, you would think for a second, like, okay, you know what? I'm entitled to 2 bags, but then all these other bags I pay $200, whatever.
Yeah.
Sure, no problem. Go to find out when we got there, the boxes were, with the 6 boxes of pads that we were taking to Africa, they were over $3,000.
Wow. Okay.
So we found out that I had to pay $3,000 right there. And
was that worth more than the items that you were bringing over, or was that okay?
I would say it might have been worth more, but then the idea of the pads, of the girls having the pads, is priceless.
Yeah.
Because from what we heard in Liberia, most girls will not go to school or have medical conditions because of those molly's sicknesses that they will have, and they don't have the right or the proper pads to use. So United Airlines waived over $3,000 over fees, and then transported all the pads to Africa, to Liberia, and were able to give it to a lot of young girls. But we are asking that this year, that when we raise money, we'll go to us building our 5th computer labs.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So last year we had DTE give us donated over 25 laptops to us.
That's cool.
Yeah. So we get our laptop from DTE.
Yep.
We had another guy a year ago. He gave us over $10,000, and we purchased over 50 laptops.
Okay.
And then we have a team of software engineer at DTE who would go and program those laptops with essential programs. Like you would take it for granted. You and I can get on a tablet or a laptop and just type, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Most kids haven't even touched a keyboard.
Yeah.
Well, we have to touch a keyboard, right? So these guys will program the laptop at DTE, would then repackage them, put them in a shipping container, and then send them over to Africa.
Okay,
Oh,
that's very cool. So how do you set up like one of these rooms? Like, do you have like 5 laptops on one table for like learning how to type, and then like another 5 somewhere else?
So what we do is what we have done is we have aligned ourselves with instructors
Okay.
in Liberia, right? Or maybe show them how the software runs, the program runs for the Vera software that we have installed on the laptops.
Okay.
And we'll teach those individuals the program, and then we'll leave it over to them and allow them to teach the kids. Because most kids, once they leave, then they have to go to computer school.
Yeah.
But why not give them the tools now so that when they leave, then they can have the idea of
Yeah.
how these computers.
And then they'll be ahead.
There you go. Far ahead.
Yeah.
So, how many of these labs have you installed?
So far, we have done like 4 computer labs. We just got back with our 4th computer lab. That was actually sponsored by an organization within DTE called Surge, and they give us a grant of $5,000. We took that grant and then we remodeled the floor, fans in the room. They don't have air conditions. Ran some new electrical within the room. Paint. We paid for the tables, the chairs, and then we brought in the laptops. And one of the things that I think we might be in need of is projectors. So, you know, as we then be able to teach these kids, we can project the image on the wall, on the board, and then be able to teach them. All right, so that's something I wasn't really thinking about, but later on, as we kept going the project, we've realized that we need projectors. So that will be something that we'll have to fund to raise some money on that too. Also.
So, what's it like to manage a project from thousands of miles away, being here and trying to communicate? Because I honestly, so it was funny because my grandparents operated businesses overseas, and they were in very impoverished communities as well, and my grandfather would use extra space in their cargo containers when they'd ship things over to send over necessary resources, right? And it was a big struggle not only to do that, but also to operate a project from the United States and trying to work on the phones and trying to go through all the proper channels and even finding people, right, to do the work that are very competent and understand how to execute. So how do you even begin to go about doing that?
Well, first of all, I would say God I want to give her credit and glory and thanks to God for the wisdom. Right, which come from him, because it's not easy finding competent people, like you said, competent people, or people that would just be loyal to the cause and say, would like to make a difference. Yeah. Especially people that, Liberia been through a lot. And it's not easy to just find somebody that's honest and say, I would like to work with you and not take advantage of the situation, because it's a whole lot of stuff. Yeah. My phone's ringing constantly.
Yeah.
My garage I have shelves that I built in my garage. First, we went from renting storage space, and we realized we're paying like over $1,000 a year on storage space. Yeah. So then we have to. I say, why don't we just build shelves in the garage? Yeah. And then we can put these donations on there as we receive the donations of clothes, different things. Then my living room got filled up. My dining room got filled up.
The space goes away.
Then the backyard started getting filled. And then we started getting these pallets, and I would go buy these. Have you seen those? If you go in Detroit and you see those garbage cans, like 55-gallon size garbage cans. Okay.
Yeah.
But most people would ship like these barrels, right? Yeah. So there's a barrel company I would go to and purchase like over 50 barrels, and thank God for DTE. I'm telling you right now. And they would say, Anthony, I'll say, hey, I need to use a truck to go pick up some barrels. But just think about logistics. How much logistics cost?
Oh,
yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's something that I don't have to come out of my pocket. But DTE is saying, okay, you know what? If you need to go buy buy some barrels or pick up some barrels, sure, you can utilize our vehicles. So we get to use the car to go pick up those barrels. And then I traveled to Liberia, and we tried to network with people that let's say I pick one person, and then he can then bring people that he thinks is competent, right? Yeah. And then we try to create some kind of incentive, right? Yeah. So no matter what, these people are people that most of them, or maybe all of them, doesn't have a job. Yeah. Right? They can go to school but they have no means of going to school. If they do go to school, but then they have no job. So now you're working for an organization that's saying, we want to make a difference in Liberia, right?
Yeah.
So then how do we do that? But that will also compensate you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So each of them will give them a phone. I buy them a phone. I give them credit in Africa. Not like here where you and I would pay our phone bill. They buy like a credit, like a card, a scratch card, and I'll pay for that for them, right? We get transportation. Last year, DTE donated a vehicle to us, F-150.
That's very
Right?
nice of them.
And that actually helps a lot, having us to be able to transfer these very things from village to village. So when you ask me the
So the
question,
F-150 is there.
It's
right
in
now.
Liberia.
That's
Dude, it's already there.
How did
already
you?
there.
So like, how did you get that?
How did you get the F-150?
I know how hard it is. So we're really into cars, and I know how hard it is to
Shipping
internationally
car.
ship a car, and getting it either on a boat or on a plane is
It's tough. It's tough.
It's a process, and the amount of paperwork.
yeah, it's a process. And okay, so DTE, all these different organizations at DTE, right? So I say, you know what? How can I utilize this organization to help me, right? And so I go and pitch the idea about loving on Liberia, and this is why we need these things over to
Yeah.
Liberia, right?
Right.
But what can you do to help me out? And then I'll list my ideas of what I think they can do to help me out, right? One of the things is shipping a 40-foot container to Liberia. How much does that cost? $10,000.
quite a bit.
So we go over to Columbia and say, hey, this is we need to ship all these donations in a car to Liberia to help facilitate these kids in Liberia. Because most kids want to go to school, but they don't have clothes. If they do have clothes, they don't have shoes.
Yeah.
If they do have shoes, they don't have means of paying for it. So how can you help me to get all these things over to Liberia? Okay, how much, Anthony? $10,000. Okay, we'll write you a check. And that's something that they can write off as a 501c3. They can write it off.
Yeah.
So every year I have to go back and keep asking constantly. Like,
Every year. Can't wait for Anthony's pitch.
Can you help me share these things? But I have to show them what I've done.
Yeah.
Right? So
Yeah,
they can
show
see
progress.
the different idea of the progress,
Yeah.
where the donations went and how it affect the kids, how it changes their lives.
Yeah.
Right. So that's how we get those items over to Liberia, by pitching an idea to organization or company. Now you might be listening and say, oh, Anthony, I would like to give you some money to help out to be able to ship. We have a shipment right now that's coming up and we need money for that. And in fact, last week Friday, we just got a donation from DTE for another F-150 pickup truck.
That's awesome.
Wow, that's amazing.
Right? Because you got to understand, as we go from one village and maybe we're driving like 4 or 5 hours and we come back, we're done. So we have the rest. But if we have multiple vehicles,
Yeah, you can go to multiple
we can have
villages.
multiple projects going on.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
or now we have to wait for this one vehicle. And then mind you, as we're talking right now, they just called me and they said the vehicle broke down because it needs some mechanical work. Now, mind, if we have another vehicle,
You have a backup.
we have a
backup
backup.
to-
No,
yeah.
we don't. So you see what the idea is? So we
Yeah.
do need that vehicle.
Yeah, so DTE is playing a huge role in your nonprofit work. So can you give us a quick little story of how you got started with DTE?
A little bit of
A
background.
little bit of background.
Yeah. So I graduated from Cass Tech High School.
Okay.
Right. While I was at Cass Tech High School, I was in the electrical engineer curriculum. Right. So like most of you guys, I'm not really sure. When you graduate from high school, you guys go within curriculums or different curriculums.
So I know that Cass Tech is like it's a magnet type school toward like a certain like specification, right? So like when you go to Cass, you could go there, you could go to tons of other there are tons of schools in Detroit that offer certain curriculums, right? So Cass was for science and engineering and mathematics, right? Compared to okay.
Yeah, and then when you're there, you can go into business or photography or whatever it is. So I went into electrical. So while I was there, my senior year, we had a guy came over from Cass on to recruit kids to work in the summer. It was the last year of high school, and we went over and we got recruited to work in the summertime.
Yeah.
And while we're there, and I'll never forget June 6th of 2000. Right, that's how long I've been at TT. Don't ask my age.
I won't.
And we got recruited to work as a summer student. And while I was there, I took advantage of a job opportunity. So most of my friends went to college. And I just stayed and went to Wayne County for a while. And while I was working at Wayne County, I was working at TT in the day. And then going to school at night. And then once when the job opens up, I applied and I became full-time. And then while I was full-time, then I say, you know what? I need to continue my schooling. So I talked to my supervisor and they allowed me to go to school at night and then work in the day. And then DTE paid for my school.
That's awesome.
Tuition
That's
reimbursement.
sweet. Yeah.
So if you are with a company, try to find out what incentive they have, that you can take advantage of, that can help your schooling. So as an engineer, you would think that my tuition is over $200,000 or $300,000 I owe, right?
Yeah.
I owe less than that because DTE took care of most of those costs. And then while I was at DTE, 2005, I did my first project to Africa. And I wanted to give back, right?
Yeah.
I'm from Liberia, and I realized, what can I do to give back, right? Not too many kids that have the opportunity I have to come to the United States. Not too many can come to the United States. But then how can I take this idea of what I've learned or what I've done and give it back and make a difference to enhance those kids' life?
Yeah.
So 2005, I did my first charity work to Liberia. But then I realized I was not a 501c3. So there's so much a company can do to write off, because they're going to write off the cost.
Yeah.
It's business.
It's a lot of money. Yeah.
It's a lot of money.
Business.
So I'm like, I have to go register.
Yeah.
Right? So 2005, I did that, and then I stopped. I went to college, just focused on college, and I graduated from Lawrence Tech University as an electrical engineer technician. And then I started loving also Liberia shortly after that. Family, everything got in the way,
Yep.
Yeah. So after that, then I got a lawyer, and I registered Loving Arms of Liberia as a non-profit 501c3, which allowed companies like DTE or your school to say, Anthony, would like to donate, but they can also write it off.
Yeah.
So most of these entities I have talked about that have donated have been able to write off those costs or those amount that they have given us.
Yeah.
Like anybody else are listening and say, okay, Anthony, I would like to give $1 or I'd like to give $100. Right, sure. You can write it off as like you do when you go to Purple Heart or in the other organizations. So after that, we just started going to DT. I started taking advantage of the fact that I knew that DT was doing a lot of work with a lot of nonprofits. And I was saying to myself, how can I get involved in that? How can I tap into that?
Yeah.
$1. But then I realized at DTE that Loving Arms for Liberia is in Africa. And DTE does not serve power in Africa.
Yeah,
So
right.
how can it help a country in Africa
That doesn't
right?
have
That they don't serve?
Yeah.
So I registered an organization, and I realized that there is something called volunteer opportunities and hours,
Yeah.
you want to call it, right? So DTE can write off the cost through another organization or however to Loving Arms for Liberia, and they can I can in return take that money and go and service these kids in Africa. So that's how I've been able to get DTE involved in Local 223 AFL-CIO, and most of my coworkers and friends that have joined me with this cause and say, Anthony, we like what's happening in Africa and what you're doing, and would like to help out.
Yeah.
So it's kind of how I've been.
How long does a project like building a computer lab or remodeling it usually take?
It all depends on the funding.
Yeah.
Right? So the funding is there. It can take anywhere from 6 months to a year to do the work. And what I like to do is when I commission a computer lab, I don't like to just sit there and say, okay, I've done a computer lab. I want to go there for myself and see it, because this is where your money went, right? This is how you spend your money. So I want to go and show you how your money was spent. So if you go to Loving Arms for Liberia Facebook page or our website, you will see that most of our computer lab that we have done throughout the years, we take pictures, we take videos, and we even have the local media come out and do a video for us, and then be able to showcase the work that has been doing and how it's affecting the kids in Africa.
So, do you mind if I ask, how did you get in touch with Angelo?
Yeah. How did
I'm just curious. How did you guys meet?
Okay, so
That was at soccer.
yeah. So we were my kids go to Our Little Sorrows
Okay.
Catholic school.
Yep.
And I always go and volunteer with the kids in the lunchroom. So like I'll work like 7:30 in the morning till 7:30 at night, and then we'll go and the next day I'm off on rest. We'll call rest. You got to sleep for 8 hours.
Yeah.
But instead of me being on rest, I go and do Our Little Sorrows and volunteer in the lunchroom.
Yeah.
And I got friendly with most of the kids, and they told me, hey, they have soccer after school. So I'm like, oh, sure. I do. It's been no soccer.
Yeah, go help
And
me
I
out.
met Angelo, and just like you guys, anybody that's listening, I'll tell them freely about Liberia. What's going
Yeah.
on? I would like to know how best you can help me out.
Yeah.
And I was talking to Angelo about it, like, hey, look what I'm doing in Liberia. Would you like to get involved?
Yeah.
And he liked the idea, and he got involved, and he got you guys involved in what I'm doing. And I appreciate that the fact that he got involved, and now here I am on one of our podcasts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well,
That's sweet.
we really appreciate you coming on today to join us. This was a really nice experience, I think, for all of us, and also a way for us to kind of get connected in some respects
Yeah.
with the organization and also with what's going on in
I
the
love
area. I personally, you know, it's stuff you hear about in the news, it's stuff you hear about, but you don't really quite understand the impact, you know, and what's going on until you hear about it, until you're personally up close with it. So,
Yeah, I mean, I think I appreciate coming and let you guys know and hear about the story. But you look at this bottle of water right here; it's as clear and crystal. And if you were to take this, if you were to grab a dirt or whatever it is and put it in this water right now, it's turned brown, right?
Yeah.
All right. So just think about that water. Picture in your mind for a second how many kids or how many adults that is drinking water as brown as this.
Right.
This table,
Yeah.
right? And what Loving Arms has been able to do is go into various homes, like the blind people we went to a camp with a bunch of blind people there, and they were drinking water as brown as this table, and we were able to raise money to build wells. I mean, a well with a hand pump, fresh water coming out, you know. And like you said, you know, having this close impact towards me is walking into your closet and be able to grab a shirt. Get up in the morning, go into a refrigerator, have a meal. You can put a bagels together, something like that. Right? Most kids get up in the morning and does not have the idea of having a meal.
Yeah.
So they walk 2, 3, 4 miles, right, and go to school. They
Yeah.
sit in classroom hungry. Then they turn around and then they walk back home hungry. Because most of them live miles away from the school. And here we are, we're saying, Loving Arms Liberia saying, how can we make an impact in these children's life, right? So we went from feeding about 500, now we're up to 10,000 kids we feed every month.
that's amazing.
Right? And you might say to yourself, wow, but the thing is, like, think about those kids sometimes gets the best meal from us. You know, because at the end of the day, they're hoping that they can get one meal, and some of them don't have a meal. They go hungry. And we're able to get bikes, right? Most kids have to walk to go to school. So we're saying to you guys, if you got a bike in your garage you don't need, say, Anthony, I'd like you to have my bike. I'm going to college, whatever.
Yeah.
I'd like to have my bike. You know,
Take my bike.
That's a bike the kid that could utilize, you know. So the impact that Loving Arms is doing will make a great difference in children's life, hopefully now and forever. But we can't do it by ourselves.
Yeah.
So we need you guys to say, you know, Anthony, the dinner is coming on the 21st of September.
Okay.
How can we help? You know, buy the tickets if you can make it. Donate. We have a Cash App. We have a Venmo. And you can.
How can people find you? Can they find
Do you have a
on the
website?
internet? Do you have a website or
Yes.
connected? Okay.
Yes, so they can go on Loving Arms for Liberia Facebook page. We have a website. We have a Instagram page, and they can go there and donate. You know, we'll probably be able to share our Facebook information with you guys and our Cash App. Say what like to help. But I think coming to the dinner will already signify how much you'd like to make a difference in Liberia.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate it.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr.
Allow us-
Watson.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.